Hi everyone, welcome to the Creatives Across Borders podcast with your host Bryon. Say the name Dapo Adeola and what comes to mind is best-selling, award-winning children's book writer and illustrator. But he's much more than that. He is in fact a well-rounded storyteller across different mediums, books, TV, merchandising, themed exhibition, and that's still scratching the surface of his creative vision. In this interview, Dapo unpacks his journey with useful insights, guides, and offers his opinions on related issues without mincing words. He debunks certain myths about the children's book publishing industry and offers practical ways to approach your journey as a creative in the space. And there is more, from his six-figure multi-book deals, collaborations, work-life balance, career highlights, to tips to working with him. So have a listen. Enjoy. And we are live. So Dapo, good to have you finally. It's been a while now that I've been wanting to get you on the podcast, and why not? Because I mean, your name seems to come up. Probably 90% of the interviews that I have had, I haven't had a lot of them, but your name just keeps coming up, and so it's a pleasure to have you join us today, man. Yeah, happy to have you.
Pleasure's mine, and that's crazy. That's a surprise. That's crazy. But pleasure to be here, man. Thank you for having me. I've listened to some of the interviews. I listened to Salam's interview. I listened to Ori's interview as well. Yeah, it's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. So yeah, glad to be here.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so tell us about Dapo, your background. How would you describe yourself, man?
Oh Lord, how would I describe myself? Okay, I'm gonna give you the bio description because describing myself, that's a work in progress, man. My name is Dapo Adeola. I am a Nigerian British author, illustrator, artist, all-round creative person. I was born here to Nigerian parents, Yoruba parents, if that makes any difference to anybody. And I've been drawing since I was like 7 years old, mostly out of passion and, just a love for the craft. And now as a job, I started working in publishing as an illustrator primarily in 2018, 2019. My first book came out in 2019. I have since then made 12 books as an illustrator and author, and put together an anthology, and just had many, many adventures as a children's book creative. And that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's not a bad start anyways.
In a professional nutshell. I guess during this interview, you'll find out more things about me that I maybe left out of that intro.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. That's a good summary. And so that leads me to my next question, which is, children's books. How did you get started with children's books?
So I've always loved children's books, been a huge fan. I have a quite sizable collection of picture books and children's books. I love children's literature. It was a real escape for me as a kid. I didn't have the greatest childhood experience, but kids' books allowed me to dream bigger than what was happening in my immediate space. So that's where the love came from. How did I get started particularly? So I used to work full-time at a gym selling memberships in 2000, from about 2007 till about 2009. And I went part-time and I started the journey to become an illustrator. And I started taking courses online, using social media to kind of learn more stuff, to find whatever free resources were available to teach me how to become a really good illustrator. I started putting on shows of my work, started taking on commissions. It was going really, really well. In 2010, I started working with a guy called Nathan Bryon. His name is going to come up again. So I worked with him on a project. Nathan is a very, very talented individual, amazing actor, amazing screenwriter. There's the book. Amazing screenwriter, just all around very, very talented individual. And we worked on a project which we might revisit. It's called Afro Kid, and it was a fun project. I got to design the main character and some villains, and it didn't really go anywhere at the time, but both of us recognized something in each other and we became friends as a result. We kept tabs on each other's career and checked in regularly. And in 2015, Nathan came to me with this idea for a character for a picture book. The character would later become Rocket, who is the character that I'm the most known for designing her. And he came to me with the idea. He's like, Daps, I got this idea for a picture book. You'd be awesome at designing the character. Her name is Rocket. I don't know. We didn't have a name there. He said that she's a black girl. She loves space. She's got big glasses. And that was my description. So I took that, went off, started thinking, what would a black girl who loves space, what would she be like? What would her personality be like? At the time, my niece was 6. So she had this brilliant personality where she just asked people questions all the time. And I thought, okay, let me see if I can capture that energy in this character. Went to work, did that. Nathan at the time was with a talent agency that had just merged with a literary agency. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about that side of things. I just knew how to draw and post on social media. But Nathan took my drawings to the literary arm of his agency and put them in front of the lady who is now my agent. Her name is Sally Ann. And she looked at them. She loved them. She said, I want to meet him. I came in, sat down. She asked to represent me. At the time, I was like, is this going to cost me any money? She was like, no, I only make money when you make money. So I said, okay, fine, sign me up. So this was 2016. I signed up with the agency in 2016. We missed the Frankfurt Book Fair, but we made a pitch. We put a pitch together in time for the Bologna Children's Book Fair the following year in 2017. She took the work, went to Bologna, showed it around, did her thing, worked her magic, came back, and we had an astonishing amount of interest in Look Up, right? The book that would become Look Up. And we say it was around April 2017. I asked Sally and I was like, how many people are interested? She sent me a list of the publishers that had expressed interest. And being the Nigerian that I am, I went online. I was like top 10 publishers in the world. I wanted to see how big this thing was going to be. And eight of the publishers in the top 10 publishers in the world were on that list. And that was bananas to me. That was nuts. So for me, I was excited. So that's April. Then we jumped to May. In May, she'd set up meetings for us around the city with various publishers, 6 meetings. And Nathan was in town. We all went around. And during that one day, we saw 6 publishers. We finished the day with 4 offers, right? With 4 offers from 4 of the 6 publishers made us an offer. By the end of the month, we had 14 offers from various publishers, right? And then it ended up getting narrowed down to 2 publishers, which I can mention now. It was Bloomsbury and Puffin. And the 2 of them were going back and forth, making us offer after offer. And eventually Puffin made us the best offer that we thought we could get. And we went with them. And the rest, as they say, is history. And that's how I got into children's publishing. Now, funny thing about 2017 for me was, I think I always call 2017 my inevitable year, because that was the journey on one side. And another thing that happened that was absolutely nuts was I did, somebody approached me to do a blog on BuzzFeed, to participate in a blog. And the blog was 32 Black illustrators that you should be following. That was the title of the blog. And it came out in Black History Month of that same year. I'd forgotten. I did this blog post maybe in the summer and I forgot all about it. And then one day I wake up in October of the 2017. We've already signed our first book deal. I wake up and my internet is going off. Everything is going off. Notification. And that blog had been released into the world. And from that blog, numerous other publishers started to approach me again, saying, hey, we saw your work in the blog. Can you come and work on our book? Who's your agent? How do we get in touch with you? So that year, by hook or by crook, it was going to happen that year. So it was an inevitable year or period in time for my debut into the industry. So yeah, that's how I got into the industry.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Because again, I mean, I have a few of your books here. just you mentioning that you have about a dozen or so of them, I'm like, well, I'm short on my collections then, because I only have about 4 of them for now.
That's all right.
But
I think you
yeah,
probably have the main. Yeah, you probably have the ones that everybody
Hey
knows. Yeah, the
you.
main ones.
And then but this one I had to get this one and I'll get to this one because this was a mention from someone, and but I'll get to that one. I mean, speaking of that BuzzFeed guest blog that you did, right? Was it just a random reach from someone, or random request, I should say, or?
I mean, I don't know how the person found me. Her name is Victoria Sanusi, and I will always have love for Victoria for this, because to her, it was just her job. But to me, that changed or affected the course of my trajectory in life. So she reached out to me and was like, a friend of hers had recommended me to her. I don't know who the person is, but they had recommended me to her as an illustrator to have on this list of Black illustrators that she was going to make. So that's how that came about.
Okay, so this question was going to come later, but I should ask, because I know that Hey You is a book where you worked with quite a number of Black illustrators. Do we have those illustrators on here also? Those illustrators that you had on the list? Did you work with them on this one also? Do we have quite a few of them on this?
No. I've worked with 1 or 2 of them on other projects. So there's a book I have called Joyful Joyful, which is an anthology. And Joyful Joyful is an anthology that has it has 20 authors and 20 illustrators, 20 Black authors and 20 Black illustrators. And in that book, I think I worked with about 3 people from that list. So the thing is, all those people, their styles don't necessarily go well with children's illustration. So it was just illustrators, period. So for Joyful Joyful and Hey You, I needed children's illustrators, styles that fit the mold. So fortunately, I was able to find those in the Black diaspora. But on that list, there was literally, I think, only myself and 2 other people who I could convince them to tweak their style so it fit into children's illustration. All the others, their style was more adult, more YA, a bit older.
Okay, interesting. So I was going to mention Nathan, and it's a good thing you recognize yourself that his name was definitely going to come up again, because again, so for me, when I look at the books, like the books that I have with me here, Swapna, Haddow's, and then Nathan, Selim did mention in his interview with me that Swapna Haddow is someone that he would jump at the opportunity to work with, And so my question is, how does one even go about fulfilling that kind of dream to work with great writers like Swapna or Nathan? Can you walk us through that process, from your experience? How did you get to work with amazing authors like Swapna and Nathan?
Oh, Nathan is a friend of mine, so that one is that's the standard. That's my friend. Make good friends. That's what I would say. Make good friends. So Nathan is my friend. That's my dude. So that's a standard. But with Swapna, so remember I said we had 14 offers and we could only go with 1. So what does that leave? That leaves 13 other publishers that want to work with me. So in February of 2018, the following year after we signed Lookup. So to further elaborate on the story, I was still working part-time when we signed the book deal with Lookup. I was still working in the gym part-time. And I had 1 book deal, right? And that was Lookup. So to me, again, I'm I will always attribute some of my qualities to being a Nigerian. And we're very practical people when we're ready. So because you have 1 book deal does not mean you have career. So me, I was like, all right, bro, how are we going to do this? You need to secure some more bags before you can say that you have a career. Yep. So February 2018, my gym that I worked at, I was still working part-time in the gym after signing my first book deal. The gym was closing down. It closed down at the end of January 2018. And I don't know, the timing was colossal. It was something amazing. January 2018, my inbox just started going off, just jumping off. We were getting sent text after text after text. We had so many texts that were sent to us. And then I got to choose who I wanted to work with. And how I chose was I would read the text. If it jumped off the page at me, if it excited me, then I want to have more conversations about seeing if we can work on that one. And that's how I came across Swapna's work. That's how I've come across all the authors I've worked with. We've had offers come through, and I've looked at them and I've decided, who do I want to work with? So the experience from my end is kind of different because I was in demand at the time. However, I do know that that's generally how it works. You get sent the text. The illustrator is the one that's sought out because of your style, because of work you've done in the past. You just get sent those texts. It's not for us to go out and look for a text, right? That's what I know of it. I know that illustrators, we tend to get approached with a text. Either our agent might get hit with a text and get asked, which of your illustrators do you think is suitable for this? Or if you have enough of a presence, or if you've done enough work and people know what your work looks like, they are going to come to you for that specific style of work. And this is why I always say to people, if you are concerned about the kind of work you want to come your way, think about the kind of work that you're putting out there. The kind of work you put out will always reflect what is coming back in your direction. So yeah.
Okay, you touched on something that I would like to elaborate on also, which is because this whole agent, representation thing, it's for some of us, it's still new. And so you just mentioned that for some of these texts, and when we say text, we're talking about, say, maybe the scripts, right? Synopsis of the scripts, right?
Yeah, the picture book text, the words in the book. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so in your case, some would come to you directly or some would go through your agent, right? But at the end of the day, the conversation would still have to involve your agent, right? Even if it comes directly to you, because she's
even if it comes directly to me,
right?
She represents me. She deals with my contracts. She deals with various things. Some people have an issue with paying somebody else to deal with those things. But let me say something about agents, that a good agent is responsible for your market rate, right? So I didn't know anything about how much I should be charging for anything. I don't know the going rates. I don't know that. A good agent knows all of those things. My agent is the one that set my market rate. She's the one that made sure that the market rate climbs as my Kinicon goes up, the market rate goes up as well. She's the one that made sure that happens. And that's hard to do on your own unless you have that knowledge. That's what you're paying your agent for. That is where the agent earns their money. They go into that room and they argue your rate for you. Why? Because it's in their best interest to get you the highest rate. Because if they get you a higher rate, they get paid a higher rate. So that's something that, as a creative, a lot of creatives struggle to advocate for themselves, to show up for themselves. A lot of people will end up getting paid the same amount for 10 years. You don't see pay rise because you're not adjusting your rate according to the rate of inflation. You're not adjusting your rate according to your own performance. Your agent also is good at getting the numbers for you. So she knows how well our books are doing. She knows the numbers. She knows all of those things. She can get that information quick, fast. I would have to go and deliberately seek out that information in a time-consuming fashion where she can just do that. That's her job. Her job is also to intervene when things get difficult for me. When I want somebody to come in and tell a publisher that, I can't do this job anymore. We recently had to drop a job, sadly, because of all the things that were going on in my life. So she stepped in, she dealt with that. So I didn't have to deal with that. Another job that she has as well is she's great because she's been a children's literature agent for a long time. So she has experience. She knows a good story when she sees it. So she's a sounding board for me to send ideas to as well, because we do a lot of our work in isolation. And if you're happy to just be an illustrator, that's fine. But me, I don't want to be an illustrator. I also want to tell stories. I want to write stories as well. Pictures tell stories, definitely, but I also want to write stories as well. So I needed somebody on my team that I could send ideas to before they ever make it in front of a publisher. So we'll know if she gets excited about something, she'll be excited about it when she'll be excited about it when she's selling it, when she's pitching it. Do you understand? And that's good. That's good to have. That tells me when I'm on the money. That tells me when I've hit the mark. Sometimes some things might take a little convincing, but that's where the trust is. She trusts that sometimes she might not see something, but she trusts how excited I am about it as well. So there's so many benefits. I couldn't do what I do to the level that I do it without the team that I work with. My agent is priceless, absolutely priceless.
Interesting. That's an interesting perspective to the subject of agents, though, because I've spoken to a few people who have said, "Oh, well, I'm not sure about this." But again, sometimes, you can only speak from your experience. If you haven't had a great experience, or if you haven't heard from someone like yourself, who's had a great experience, then it can seem like it's not the thing for them. One other question I was going to ask you was around. I remember I met a friend, a Scooby, who she had a great story, and then she sold the story to a publisher. They bought into it, but then she mentioned that she never met the illustrator who worked on her story. Is that a thing? So, in case of Swapna, did you ever meet her, or have you met her?
So this is a funny question because when I came into the industry, that was what I was told, that illustrators don't meet authors. But me and Nathan are friends. Before we ever signed anything, we were friends. We've met many, many times. So to me, I wasn't having that. Every single author I've ever worked with, I always go behind the publisher's back. I reach out to them. We meet. Me and Swapna met before I ever started working on the book. I didn't even have to go behind the publisher's back. The publisher had a meeting with me and Swapna, and we met straight away before we started going on working on the book. It was the same with Mark, who I worked with on a series called Space Detectives. We met before we ever started working. We bounced ideas off of each other. We talk. I show them drawings. They see things. I did a book with Mallory Blackman as well. Mallory and I met before I started working on the book. Anybody I've ever worked with on a book, I will reach out to them to go and talk to them, even if it has to be behind the publisher's back. Lamar Giles, shout out to Lamar. Lamar was the author of my first American book series, and he's an incredible author. And there was a point when I was stuck. It was my first book I was illustrating of that nature in 2019. I was stuck. I reached out to Lamar. He gave me all the ideas that he'd had, all the folder of research that he had, which helped me inform the drawings that I was going to make. That's not something that the publisher can get you easily. So that's why I say it benefits you to talk to the authors, talk to them. They're people. Publishers, I think they want to put their own stamp on something. So sometimes they're afraid that if the author and the illustrator start talking, the book will go off in a different direction to the direction that they want it to go into. That's fine. I get it. But I also think that the magic only can really happen to its fullest potential when the two minds that are tasked with creating the story get to meet. So that's my own on that. Just to touch on something that you said just now about different experiences with agents. That is a very legitimate thing. People do have different experiences with agents. But I also think that it's a combination of different factors that go into it. You have to choose your agent. Should you want agent representation, you need to choose your agent according to the type of illustrator or author that it is that you want to be. I know the type of author and illustrator that I want to be, and I'm very lucky to have an agent who responds to that. Both of us were trying to learn at the same time. This woman is experienced. Sally Ann had about 10 years experience in the industry before signing me, but she's learned new things with me because there's nobody that works on her roster the way that I work. So she's adaptive, and I am adaptive because it's new. It's a new industry. It was a new industry to me. It's still new. There's still many, many things I haven't done yet. So both of us are adaptive, and that created a very fertile ground for things to grow from. If you're not sure what you want, if you're not knowledgeable about the industry, expecting your agent to work magic on your behalf, that's not going to work. And I think that's how a lot of people approach the publishing industry. They think that all they have to do is write or illustrate. That's not all you have to do. You have to learn. This is an education. You can't come into this place and not learn how it works. You have to want to learn. You have to want to grow. And if you want to do those things, two things will happen. Either A, you will instantly find the agent that is meant for you and you will have a harmonious collection of boom, boom. Or you will know when you don't have a good agent. Because I don't think it's about having an agent or not having one. I think it's about having a good agent. Because to navigate this industry to grow, for your value, your market value to go up, an agent is priceless. It's priceless. This person is working on my behalf. It's like having an extra me to go and do the conversations while all I have to do now is focus on the drawing. So imagine having to do all of those things on your own as well as focus on the drawing. something is going to suffer. Either your work is going to suffer, or your ability to negotiate good rates for yourself is going to suffer. So that's why I say it's not about whether you should have an agent or not. It's whether you should have a good agent. That's the key thing. An agent, not even a good agent, an agent that works good with you. You know?
Yeah, but that was in your case, right? I mean, you've been fortunate to to have had someone who, by virtue of your relationship with Nathan, right, you got introduced to, and you hit it off. I mean, for someone who's someone sitting out there who has no clue how to go about getting an agent, how would someone find someone like how would someone find a good agent, for example? Because you talk about education, right? Educating yourself and stuff. What would you suggest in terms of approaching that subject to finding a good agent?
I would my suggestion would be focusing on your craft, right? Like, so let me talk about an illustrator, for example. It was my work that made this person want to meet me.
True that.
Right? It was my work that made this person want to meet me. And what happened was I was fortunate enough, and I'm not going to discount my luck in this, even with the BuzzFeed article. My work, again, went out in the BuzzFeed article, and people were approaching me because of that. I think the way that I would say is there are things you can do. Scoobies is one of them as well. You can follow the SCWBI. There's various competitions that come up that you can enter with various publishers. The knowledge I'm talking about is learning about who agents are, which agencies exist in children's books, really doing your research, going online, looking at the agents, looking at who they represent, going on, following them on social media. If they have open social media, just follow, have a look at their social media, look at what they're into, look at when they're available for submissions, because a lot of agents use their social media to say, hey, send me your work. Look for that. Look for what they're interested in as well. You can see it in what they're posting. They will be sharing books that are the kind of books that they're interested in. Most agents will have their bio. In their bio, they'll have their website, their link, everything. Click on that. Go and do your research. Learn who they are. Reach out to them. Say, hey, are you open for submissions? You just have to keep trying. And the one thing I will say is if your work is original enough, like when I say original, I'm not trying to say that you have to go and reinvent the wheel. No, not at all. But what I am saying is that your work can't just be a carbon copy of what you're seeing happening in the world. Your work has to be reflective of who you are. It has to say something about you. It has to say something about what you're trying to achieve. If your work is authentic enough, that's the word I'm going to use, not original, authentic. If it's authentic enough, it will connect. It absolutely will connect. And by authentic enough, I mean, also it has to be at the right quality, the right professional quality. And that's where I think a lot of people struggle, because a lot of people want to be illustrators and authors just to say that they are illustrators and authors. I've had people who've come to me and asked me questions. Everything I learned about illustrating children's books, I learned from reading children's books. There are authors, there are wannabe authors and illustrators who do not read children's books. How can you want to be an author and illustrator of something that you don't read? That doesn't make any sense. And they exist. There's loads of them. Everything I learned from reading the content, reading the kind of stuff. That's the best teacher ever. Taught me more than anything else. So for me, you have to have that knowledge. And one thing about my agent as well, when she met me, a lot of illustrators that come through the industry, they come from various establishments where they've graduated. Cambridge is the biggest illustration, I think, in the UK. And, they come through those channels. I didn't come through those channels, but my knowledge of picture books, my knowledge of storytelling stood out for my agent when I was talking. There was a choice she had. She could have represented me as just an illustrator and she would have still made her money, but she opened up to representing me as more than just what was on the surface, and that's because I was willing to bring more to the table. A lot of illustrators that come in, from my experience, from what I've seen, they just want to draw, which is fine. That is fine. But when I learned that drawing is only going to take me so far in the industry, I decided to focus on storytelling as a whole, which includes writing, which includes curating anthologies, just projects after projects. This morning we was talking about projects which will hopefully be announced soon. which is just an idea that I had, something I wanted to do. I put it to my publisher. They said, yeah, let's go with it. This is hot. I like this. Do you get what I'm saying? And if you're not coming with that, you have two lanes that you can occupy. Neither lane is wrong. Neither lane is wrong. Let me say that now. Neither lane is wrong, but one lane will take you, I believe one lane will take you further than the other. The lane you can choose is you can either choose to be the author and just write, or the illustrator and just illustrate, or you can see yourself as a well-rounded storyteller who can do whatever it is that you want to do and go that way, you know?
Interesting. And when you say, well-rounded, so we're talking of different mediums here also. So we're not just talking
different mediums,
we're talking animation and toys and, you know,
so
yeah,
that's all funny you mentioned that. That's all stuff I've done. Like I've worked with Disney I did some character design on a project with Disney that took off very well. You can even watch that one on Disney Plus. I've made toys of my stuff as well. And this is another thing. You see, those toys that I made, I did the initial illustration, right? But I can't do the 3D stuff. I can't do the screen print, the 3D printing stuff.
Yeah.
So what I did was I hired people that I know can do it. And those people were open to working with me to recognize the models. So Ori, who you interviewed a little while back, she's the 3D printer that made my toys, brought them to life. Mike, who I would suggest you interview as well. Mike is an amazing 3D artist. He was the one that took my drawings, fleshed them out into 3D. Then we got Ori involved and she made the 3D printing. But I had that vision of what I wanted before I went to go and find the people that can make me actualize the vision. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I say you have to think of yourself as like, it's not about, because some people will be like, oh, I want to do this, but I can't 3D print. Okay, oh yeah, go and find somebody who can.
Yeah, you don't have to do everything yourself.
I want to do this, but I can't 3D model. Go and find somebody who can.
Yeah.
And the power of collaboration is just, it can take you from here to there. It helps ideas come to life. Collaboration is what I'm interested in primarily. I want to see how well my work gels with other people's work. I want to see what we can do together. That's always been my thing. That's a big driving force for my success even. Like none of my success was achieved in isolation. Hey, I wrote that. 18 other illustrators helped me bring it to life. Joyful is an anthology of 40 different talents. You know, every book I've done so far, I've worked with someone. So collaboration is the key.
That's really interesting because I should ask this question now because I don't know if I have it on my list. But one thing that has always caught my attention is, I think they call Discover Story or something in London. I know that I'm going to take my daughter there definitely because it's been on my list.
You better hurry up.
You know, so
I think in June it closes. Like in June, our exhibition is over in June. I think they're making way for a new exhibition. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I should do
that.
Although
the new exhibition is going to be good. It's my friend Nadia. She's doing an amazing exhibition there.
Yeah, but I want to go for, because I see the whole astronaut set up and everything there, and I want my daughter to experience that. And I was going to ask you, because it feeds right into this whole big picture that you're talking about. So was this something that you envisioned and then, reached out to them? Because to be honest with you, I hadn't seen anything like that before in terms of children's books. I hadn't seen any, for all the authors and for the authors and illustrators that I follow, I haven't seen anyone doing something like that because I thought that was really interesting.
I would love to say I'm the first, but I'm not. Discover Story does that. That's what they do. That's what that space is for. So they have a space downstairs where they bring either the world of children's books from a particular author to life or a particular book to life. I was lucky, very, very lucky for them to approach me at that stage of my career to be the author that they wanted to focus on their work. Wow. Absolutely lucky. I'm proud to say it's their best-selling exhibition to date. So yeah, it's been really, really good to have people support it the way they've supported it. But I was very lucky. Very, very lucky. Like before me, there was Judith Kerr who did The Tiger Who Came to Tea. They've had the Gruffalo there as well. Currently, after me, there's Nadia Shireen's world is going to be there as well. So, it's a thing that they do. That's the space. That's what it's designated for. And they approach authors and illustrators to make that happen. So I was very, very lucky at that stage of my career as well, because I always thought of that as something that was a privilege to have when you have a lengthy career. I thought that, you know, maybe in 10 years working, they'd be hitting me up. I didn't think it was going to be in 3 years. Like, so, yeah.
Yeah. Really nice though. I mean, the props and everything, you know, the whole, I
It's
mean, they
beautiful.
really just,
Absolutely beautiful.
just brought the whole book alive. So I definitely will be there someday. I keep following them and liking stuff. So
it's an experience. It's an absolute experience. And you don't really, you get to see it come to life through the eyes of your children. Like, it's really shaped how I see things, you know, the potential that I see for things going forward. It's really, really shaped it.
Interesting. So speaking about your big breaks, Dapo, with all these exciting projects, what would you consider the standout moment in your career? Career highlights for us so far.
Bloody hell. It's 5 years in this career, man. I will list a few highlights. I mean, the beginning was definitely a highlight, you know, being toasted by so many different publishers, having such a huge buzz around myself and Nathan as we were coming out with our new book. The publication of Look Up and the reception of Look Up was another highlight. Winning the Waterstones Children's Book Prize in 2020 was a massive highlight. Making Hey You was another highlight as well. Our book, Hey You, was such a beautiful book. It's such a beautiful experience making that book. The book debuted live on the BBC, which was incredible for the whole day. The book launched on the BBC. That. So that was, that was incredible. And then also going on to win the British Book Award for Hey You as well was incredible. And also winning Illustrator of the Year at the British Book Awards as well was incredible. You know, just my book, Hey You, again, was translated into Brazilian Portuguese. It was published in Brazil. And to see what it's doing in Brazil, you know, they have a huge racism problem over there with the Black communities. And just to see what the book is doing and how it's being held by the Black communities over there is a beautiful thing as well. To have my work published in different languages is just a massive highlight. Just everything, man. This thing has really changed my world. It's changed my life. The Discover Story thing was a highlight as well. Just getting to travel the country as an author, as an illustrator, getting to meet the kids that read the books that I've worked on, you know, things like World Book Day happening and just hundreds of children dressed up as Rocket. That all those things are a highlight. Like all the stuff I get sent, you know, it's just been one massive highlight reel, if I'm going to be honest. And sometimes it is scary because I do think to myself, Jesus, man, you've had this like insane 5-year streak. You know, when is it going to go left? You don't want it to go left, but you almost want to, you're almost like watching your back. Like, is it gonna come at me from the left, from the right? Which way is it gonna come? So I just had to really train myself to just enjoy it. Just enjoy it, take it for what it is, find humility where I can. I don't believe in false humility, but I think you should, you know, just be humble enough to know that there's still growth. There's still learning to do, you know. I've had an amazing career, but I always impart on people that I am not the best illustrator. I'm not the best author that I could be yet. There is still so much to learn. People do this thing sometimes because of how the career has gone. They come to me and they think I'm some sort of master, some Jedi, Yoda master. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know a lot of things. The things I can tell you are literally the things I've experienced. The things I have yet to experience, I don't know. So they put me, because of the success of my career over the last 5 years, I've been put in an upper echelon with people that have been in this industry for a long time. And I have major imposter syndrome because I don't feel like I'm there. I've only been there for 5 years. I'm telling you my story. My story ranges from 2017 when we got signed, right? Even if we're going to be real, it ranges from 2019 when we got published to now. Because before then, I didn't know anything about the industry. So that's a 5-year, 2019 to now. That's not a long period of time at all. You know, and during that period of time, it's not like all I was doing was learning. I was working. I had my head down and I was working. So all the stuff that I've learned, I learned on the job, you know. So people come to me for expert advice and I'm like, oh, you're going to be disappointed. I don't have expert advice for you. I have very standard advice for you. It will work, but you have to be prepared to listen. You may not be impressed by the advice I give you, because it's no shortcut. It's hard work, you know?
Yeah, but it is what it is, though, which is why, I mean, I do appreciate your coming on the podcast to talk about these things, because, again, you know, Dapo Adeola, for many of us also, I mean, you know, you're up there, you know, someone to look up to. I think it's understandable also that people look up to you, and there's also the tendency for people to feel like, oh, I mean, if Dapo was going to that level, well, if anything, he will know more than we do about certain subjects, you know, so especially about the industry, I guess, you know, because you're talking to people who, in a sense, I look at some of them as gatekeepers, you know, this publisher. Some of us can only see them from, I mean, they only ever far from us, in a sense. So I think, you know, that it's understandable that people come to you for some of this knowledge that you share. I mean, the nuggets that you've been sharing so far also, I mean, they're new to me, you know, and I can imagine it will be so for other people.
No, you see,
yeah.
I understand why people come to me. I do get it. So me even saying what I said earlier was to pop the bubble, because I believe that this industry is full of those kind of bubbles. It makes people feel, people do this thing with me, and I've seen them do it. They take me and they put me far away from where they think they are. And what I'm trying to make people understand is I'm not that far away from where you think you are. I'm not. Like, I'm not that far away. And that's a dangerous thing to do, to separate yourself from, you say you want to be here, so why are you separating yourself from where I am? And that's what people do. I feel it. I tangibly feel people separating themselves from, it's like, you're Dapo and I'm me. I'm like, oh, you could be me as well. Like, just focus and get the work done. Like, so many things that we've done, or I've done anyway, since I started working in this industry, was to open doors for other people to come through as well. And what I've noticed, and this is going to be a bit controversial, what I've noticed is that once some people's natural way of being is they know how to walk through a door, but they don't know how to keep it open behind them. And that has been something that I have done, dedicated myself to doing, to keeping that door open. But I haven't seen enough people that have walked through that door turn around and do the same. At every single stage of my career, I keep that door open. Every single stage, whether I'm winning an award or not, I try and keep that door open. Try and create opportunity for somebody else to come through. You can search through the book. Never walked alone. I've never walked alone. But I don't see enough examples of other people doing that. And I think that that's part of the reason why the industry is the way it is. I think that people have something to gain from keeping that mystery, that mystique. And all I'm trying to do when I say the thing I'm saying is I'm trying to pop that mystique, get rid of it. Get rid of it. It doesn't serve anybody but the people that are already in the industry. It doesn't. So get rid of it. And you yourselves as people that are coming into the industry, that's why I said the thing about going and doing research, going and learning, because it will help you demystify the process. This is just a process. It's work. That's all it is. Don't make it into this mysterious fancy thing. It's not. It's work. Come and chop bread, get money. Come and do the thing. It's work, you know?
Interesting, Dapo, that you mentioned this, because I mean, again, someone else might, you know, be listening to this and then say, "Oh, well, it's easy for Dapo to say because you know he's on the other, he's on the other side, you know, whatever that other side is." And so, I should ask you, Dapo, what's a practical way to keep a door open? You know, what's a way? You know, if you walk me through the same door, for example, what's the way that I can keep the door open? Let's be practical about that one. Yeah,
just do what was done for you. It's really that simple. Do what was done for you. 2, be honest about what was done for you, right? That's a key thing, because there are people that I've held the door open for, that I've walked through, and I've listened to them talk about it, and they haven't been honest about that. They left the part where they were helped out. They made it seem like it was something divine that happened. I'm like, oh, no. I know what I did.
The story's not complete.
I know this story. The story is not finished. You left out some parts. So that's what I'm saying. If we keep doing that, because we have a tendency as Africans and Black people especially to make things very divine, very mystical. No, it is practical. That's why you said what you said. You see, you asked me for a practical thing. It is practical. Do what was done for you. Do what was done for you, you know, and be honest about what was done for you, because nobody likes to. Sometimes people don't like to be honest about it because it makes it seem like they had a hand up, somebody helped them. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? If we're not helping each other, how do we progress? You know, if we're not helping each other, how do we progress? Be honest about it, because it needs to be normalized. Helping each other up in this industry needs to be normalized. And one thing I'm going to say, not to make this about race in any which way, but we are the only people that do that stuff. You don't see why people will tell you, hey, Joe helped me. I got my help from Peter, and Michael helped me, and Bob helped me. They'll tell you. They will share those things, but we don't share those things. We don't tell the full story. And I've noticed this. Like, I've helped people come through. I've helped them in big ways. And I'm saying this as, again, I said, I don't believe in false humility. I'm telling the truth. I've helped them in big ways, but then I see them walk through and then they don't look back. They don't help anybody else come up. And I'm like, how do we hope for a change if that's what keeps happening?
Yeah.
You know? So
interesting. Great point, Dapo. I mean, great point.
It's so simple. It's so simple. Do what was done for you. It is so simple. If you were helped, help the next person.
Others. Yeah. Interesting. In terms of your influences, Dapo, I mean, I think we've had a few moments where you've talked about, your Nigerianness. So talk about your Nigerian heritage influences, if any, on your works.
There's no influences per se. I'm still working on influences. I'm still trying to learn more about the artists that exist in our culture, who they are, what they do, the authors, all these things. A certain type of storytelling I'm trying to tap into for what I'm working on at the moment. But my Nigerianness is what I'm referencing in those things. And by that, you know what I mean. You're laughing already because you know what I mean. There's a way that I know. There's a way that we are. We're very diligent when we're ready. We're very hardworking when we're ready. And it's our need to be the best. We need to be the best. So we don't play around when it comes to certain things. And that's the thing that was put into me as a kid that still feeds how I am. It drives me in a lot of ways. And I think that's what's great about us as a people. Like, there's a lot of things that are a little bit about us as a people. But one thing you can't say is, you can't tell me that you won't go anywhere in the world and in a specific profession, there's not a Nigerian that's shining. There's a Nigerian. There's always going to be a Nigerian that's shining somewhere. Athletics, music, fashion, everywhere in the world. There's a Nigerian. Science, medical, something. There's a Nigerian that is innovating and shining. And that's because of how diligent and hardworking we are. So that's what I talk about. When I talk about that, that's the influence. That's the Nigerianness in me that makes me want to be the best at whatever it is that I'm doing.
Interesting. Okay, because I was going to ask about how it shaped your craft. But I get it now.
That's it. That's it. I just want to be the best. It's a stubbornness that we have. That we just want to be the best. We want people to sing our name in a certain way. I'm not gonna, like I said, I don't do false humility. We want people to say, "Hey, that boy is Nigerian." We want people to say it. Like, we want people to know. Like, that's how we are.
Interesting. I mean, a few of my questions, I feel like you've already answered, to be honest. I was going to ask about, so for example, I noticed, because I follow you on IG quite a lot. I check your stories almost every day, and I see that you're always spotlighting other creatives, right? And I think this, literally is about you just opening doors for them in a sense, because I mean, being who you are and the fact that you have a huge following, by spotlighting them, people take notice, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that that's part of the door opening. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
That is okay. So that is a part of the door opening. But the thing that I need to really stress to people is, because people hit me up in my DMs and say, "Can you share?" I'm like, no, don't do that. For me, I'm not here to do that. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm not a billboard. I'm not thingy. Sometimes I don't remember about big following. I'm sharing this thing because I saw it and I liked it. That's it. I'm sharing it because I saw it and I liked it. It's coming from an authentic, genuine place. I saw it, I liked it. I think you guys need to see this. This is what I'm looking at. Go and have a look at it. So in a sense, I would love to be able to just be helping and sharing everybody's willy-nilly, but then that becomes my full-time job and I don't get paid for that. Do you know? So I have to make it so that I only share what I see because I was looking for it, not because somebody put it in front of me and said, "Dapo, can you please help me boost this?" So that's an important thing. That's a very important thing to mention, because I would love to be able to share everybody's things just to help everybody. But I'll be honest, and this may not, you may not like this one when I say it, but not everybody's thing is good. Not everybody's thing is exciting to me. So I'm not going to go and promote something just because, that's one. And the second thing I want to say about that is it is a part of the opening doors thing. But one thing I learned so much about myself coming into this industry. That opening doors thing, that's a natural thing that I do because I'm genuinely curious about people's work. Like, I'm so curious about art. My curiosity is what drives me, if I'll be honest. Like, I did this thing a couple of years ago. It's called Draw This in Your Own Style. So I got Rocket. I did a drawing of Rocket, and I asked people to draw Rocket in her own style. In their own style? Why did I ask them? Because I wanted to see what people would do with something that I've made. I wanted to see their own interpretation. That stuff I love that. I love giving somebody something and them taking it and doing something that I didn't expect with it, bringing it to life in a different way. I've had puppets made of Rocket, from people who I like their work. I'm like, oh, you make puppets. Can I commission you to make a puppet of my character? They did it. It's their own style. Beautiful. The evidence is on my Instagram. But all of those things are coming from a place of curiosity, creative curiosity for me. I don't gatekeep. I need to be very, very clear on that. I hate gatekeeping. I hate gatekeepers. I hate people that think of me as somebody that has some keys to some gate. I don't have any keys to any gate. I don't have any interest in gatekeeping. What I do have is my taste, what I like. And if I like something, I will share it because I like it. That way you're guaranteed that it's coming from an authentic place. I'm not trying to push propaganda. I'm not trying to push anything on you. Things I care about creativity. I care about social causes. Those are the things I care about. That's what you're going to see a lot of on my Instagram posts.
Interesting, because this feeds right into my next question segment, which is about, your public profile. In terms of your affiliations, Dapo, so you talked about, the way that you've come up, not in the traditional sense of, Cambridge and, I'm sure no MAs in illustration or any one of those, degrees.
I'm an academic failure.
So can you share with us, but you did mention that, when you started out, you would read books and you were also learning via social media platforms and the like. So can you share with us, game-changing workshops, mentorship programs, or affiliate organizations that have shaped your journey?
So I think Salon might have mentioned this in his interview. Imaginism Studios. Imaginism Studios. I'll send you, because I'm sure you're going to post about this. So I'll send you the link to their thing so you can post them. So Imaginism Studios is a studio run by a guy called Bobby Chu. It's an incredible studio. It's an online resource. It's affordable. They do discounted membership, and basically you can access videos about various aspects of the craft, of illustration, of animation, of drawing. You can access videos about all of those things, about digital art, everything. And those videos are taught by people who are professionals who are working in the industry, who you can also follow on their social media to find out more about them and see their work. I've been using this Imaginism Studio since 2014, since it launched. I've been using it for a lot of, and you know how good it is? It's so good that I just keep my membership going just in case I ever need to go and dip into it. I just keep it going. It's a great resource, and you can learn at your own speed, your own convenience. You can either do where you're doing self-taught, where you're just watching the videos in your own time, or you can actually sign up for actual classes, still based on the same video, but with access to the teacher and feedback from them as well. And also what Imaginism is good at doing is they built a community online as well, where if you're doing the self-taught, you can still post your work for feedback from your other peers who are also doing the same thing. So they're great. They're absolutely great. I can't sing their praises enough. YouTube has a variety of different tutorials. Now, there is an overwhelming amount of tutorials on YouTube, but this is where you have to be diligent. This is where you have to do your research. If you see something you like, look at the person who made it. Go and follow them on social media. Take your time. The thing for me as well is there's no one straight way of doing things. The best way that I would recommend anybody do anything is take from here, take from there, and smash together your own thing that works for how you learn. That's it. Like, people might say, oh, YouTube, I don't go to YouTube because there's too many things. No, I wouldn't say that. Go on YouTube. There's plenty of things on there, but take your time. And you know, a thing why I keep saying take your time is everybody's in a rush. Everybody wants to learn how to be the best artist tomorrow.
Yeah.
You won't learn tomorrow. You won't learn tomorrow. You have to be dedicated to the fact that this is going to take time. It's going to take time. It's going to be an ongoing process. You're going to mess up and get it wrong plenty of times before you get back and get it right. It's going to take time. And once you let that go, like one thing I said as well, I'm like, one of the things that was hardest to come to terms with is that I'm going to be a student for the rest of my life. Like, and people don't think about it like that. People think that they will learn till they become a master. Any person who's really great will tell you that they're great because they've been a student forever. They've committed to being a student. Committing to being a student means you're committed to learning new things. When you think you got there, it's not enough. You must go and learn the next one. And you're committed to that. And when you're committed to that, looking at things like YouTube that has an overwhelming amount of content, you'll be looking at it differently because you're committed to discovering new things. You know, obviously you have to balance that commitment to learning with focus as well. Yeah. Because sometimes that commitment to learning, if you don't have focus, you'll be
all over the place.
You'll be all over the place. You need to be focused. What do I want to learn today? What can I go and learn about that thing? When you finish learning that one, now switch. And what you need to realize is even though it is overwhelming and you want to learn about color, writing, everything all at once, if you say you want to have a career, that means you have the rest of your life to learn about those things. There are some things that you need to learn because of the job that you're working on at the moment. Go and focus, prioritize those things. That will give you money for you to continue, right? But in your spare time, the measure of a good freelance creative, I think, is what you do in your spare time. That's not to say that you shouldn't rest in your spare time. Let me be clear, rest. But what you do when nobody is paying you, what you go and invest your time in, what you go and learn off your own back before somebody pushes you, how you challenge yourself before challenge comes through the door. That's the measure of a good creative to me.
Interesting. So, Dapo, do you have any mentors, though? Do you have any mentors in this industry that you consciously, interact with? And
I have one guy. He's going to kill me for this. He was my mentor from 2020. My friend now, Matt Forsyth. He's a brilliant author, illustrator, character designer. This guy is phenomenal, man. He's such a brilliant talent. He's a beautiful human being. That's my friend. Matt mentors me. He used to mentor me directly before. Now it's more of a friendship. And when I need him to, he does make that time to have a look at some of my work and, bounce some ideas and stuff off. And he honors me by sharing stuff with me for me to give him my opinion on. To me, as much as I said, don't put people on pedestal. Yeah, I put that guy on a pedestal, but he's also my friend. So I feel honored to have that respect. And it's tricky sometimes because I definitely need mentorship. There's so many new things that I haven't done before. And as we're talking, I'm even thinking about, I've earmarked some people and I'm going to ask them if they can do something called shadow mentoring, which just mentors me small and doesn't take up too much of their time. Because there are some things that I know that they've done that I am looking to do. So they would be the best people to give me advice on certain things. But, even, and I say this to say that even at my perceived level, the level that people think I'm on, I still need that. I still need mentoring. I need people looking over my work. I need people telling me this works, that doesn't work. Try this, try that, because I don't know everything. Like what I don't know far exceeds what I do know. So I still need it. So, yeah.
So still on the subject of mentorship, the other way around, do you have people that you mentor, like one-to-ones or group sessions or I'm sure you get lots of
too many people, and it's usually because of my own thing anyway. Like if you come to me and you say, Daps, I got this thing I'm working on, what do you think? Me, I'll be like, oh my god, before you know it, now I'm mentoring you, because I won't stop until I see that project come over the finish line. And you finish, I'll be checking it. Oh, did you do that? I saw this thing. Here you go. So I end up with about 15 people that I'm mentoring by accident. But where I try and take the pressure off myself and them to an extent is I make them understand that this is not official mentoring. if I don't have the capacity, which I very often might not now, I would tell them, I'm like, look, I will check it when I can. If I can't check it, I'm so sorry, I don't have the capacity. Because much as I would love to be able to just keep giving, you can't pour from an empty cup. So
I agree. Organizations, though, I mean, because we haven't touched on that. Do you have any organizations that you're affiliated with as a member, or I don't know, patron, or
I have
member? I
recently
don't know.
I've recently become a patron. I'm a patron by default of a few things. I've worked with independent bookshops, Roundtable Books in Brixton. I used to run competitions, giving away free books that I would pay for through them. I've worked with them on different things as well. I work I'm an official patron for this amazing initiative set up by this wonderful person called Sophia Akel. It's called the Free Books Campaign. And basically all Sophia does is she gives free books away to people who can't afford them, you know. It's a brilliant campaign, and I've been supporting it from day one, and I'm honored to be a patron of it now. There's some interesting things coming up in July from her. And I believe, I don't know if I'm still one, I might still be an ambassador of the literacy, is it the Literacy Trust? Yeah, the Literacy Trust. And the Literacy Trust is a trust that basically focuses on improving the quality of literature for children and everybody in the UK. I've worked with Book Trust. I was the Book Trust author and illustrator in residence in 2022. That was a fantastic experience. Again, we used that one to open up things nationwide. I did a nationwide campaign for children to design characters that ended up in Speak Up in one of my books. I also did a nationwide initiative helping aspiring authors to basically have feedback. We did a nationwide writers clinic with that. I set up the Black British Illustrators Network on Facebook, but that was an interesting experience that I have mixed reviews over. It was interesting. With that experience, again, I'm going to just talk honestly. With that experience, what I found that was happening was, of the 120 plus members of the Black British Illustrators Network, I'd say about 20 people were contributing regularly. And of those 20 people, probably about half of those, again, were the ones that went on to become published illustrators who now have careers in the industry. So I had to be realistic about the ratio. You can have a huge number of people that step forward, but the percentage is often 10% of those, and then another 10% of that 10% are the people that will now follow all the way through. So that was an interesting experiment to go through, and I learned a lot from it. And what I'm in the process of doing right now is setting up what's known as a Patreon. And on my Patreon, I want to create a community on my Patreon of people who want to learn more about how to get into illustration and children's book illustration specifically by sharing what I know, giving them the opportunity to ask me questions as well. And I also want to do something called Studio Mates, which is create a community of people who can work and get feedback from each other at the same time. So just trying to work on those things. And again, like I said to you earlier, it's all about community for me, man. Community is everything. I don't walk alone. I could, but there's no joy in it.
Yeah.
You know?
Interesting. I mean, good thing that you've mentioned a few things about your future projects. I have a question here about, what you're currently working on, what your future plans are, and, any exciting projects that you'd like to share, or any wish list of collaborations also. Yeah. Do you have a wish list of collaborations? That I should ask.
I can answer all of those questions. I'm currently working on a book. I can show you like a sneak peek of the cover. It's not been revealed yet, but I can show you a little sneak peek. So I'm working on this book that has been we signed this deal a long time ago, but it's now coming together. It's called The Light Glare of the Light.
Yeah, super good. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, it's a brilliant little book. So I'm working on that at the moment. It's a picture book written by a wonderful author called Tracy Baptiste. She's based in the US, and it's through the US arm of my publisher. And I'm working with that book on. It will be my last picture book for a little while. It's not due out till next year, but it's going to be amazing. But what I'm doing in between, last year I signed my first solo-ish contract. My first solo contract, actually. So I signed a 5-book deal with Puffin last year for 2 picture books and 3 middle grade books. And the middle grade books are a new series about a little girl and her dragon. It's called Anaya and the Dragon. And I'm in the process of writing those books and illustrating them. I'm also working on pitching new picture book ideas as well. One of the things that I want to do is I want to start writing for other illustrators. Like, I have a wish list of illustrators that I want to work with because I'm a fan first. I love illustration. I love the work. So there's a wish list of people that I want to work with. And I'm hoping through reading stuff that they've already worked on, I'm hoping that they like the stories that I'm developing with them in mind. I'm also thinking about just different ways of working with community when it comes to my work as an illustrator as well. I want to repeat the Hey You thing, but I want to repeat it from the other end where I am the only illustrator and we've got multiple authors. So that's something that I'm looking at doing. I won't share too much on this, but it's something that we talked about with my publisher this morning, and fingers crossed it will bear fruit in a massive way. Yeah, just those are the things, and just generally improving my craft as a storyteller, man. Like, there are some things that I want to challenge myself to be able to do off my own back. I mean, I could play it safe. I could very much play it safe. I could give you another rocket book, another rocket book, another rocket book, another rocket book, and I could keep chopping the money, but I won't grow as a creative. So I'm trying to challenge myself. And also that whole thing I said to you earlier, where I was talking about the fact that the career has gone amazing for 5 years, and there's a part of me that's like, oh my god, when will you fail? I think I need to do something that's a big risk that didn't work. And I say that it sounds crazy, but like, I think that's where you learn. If every day you're throwing something at the wall and it's sticking, you're not learning. You're not really learning. I think in your failures, in your failed attempts, that's where you learn. So I'm kind of looking at, I want to just try something that I've never done before, take a big risk, take a jump, see how it lands. If that one lands and it sticks as well, I'm like, hey, brilliant, fantastic. I'm not going to complain. But if it doesn't, then okay, cool. Let's learn, let's pick up, let's learn, let's see what's good. So that's what I think this new series is going to be. It's the first time I'm working on my own completely. Up until this point, I'm very good at bouncing off of people, whether it's the authors I'm working with or the multiple illustrators I'm working with or the group of people that I'm putting together for a project. I'm very good at doing that. But now I want to see if I can carry the writing and the illustration of one single project all by myself and see how that comes together. I think I can do it. I hope I can do it. But whatever happens, man, is what was meant to happen. So, yeah.
I wonder though, in that plan of yours, are there other mediums? Are we seeing, we likely to see something on TV at some point, see, toys and games, and is there anything like that in that picture? Is there anything like that in the picture?
I am open to all of it. I'm open to all of it. I mean, I make things with the hopes that they will get translated into other mediums. So even this Goat Girl book I just showed you, I made sure that when I was illustrating this book, I drew every page as if it was a panel from a cartoon. Like, I really wanted to push my style so that if we present this to a TV person, they can look at it one time and they're like, oh, I can see it. You can literally see how it works as a cartoon. And I'm really proud of what I've done with that. So that's the approach that I'm taking to all the books that I'm making. I'm trying to make them in a way that they just jump off the page at you and you can see, like, you can visualize what a cartoon, what an animated show would look like of this product. So I'm very open to that. I'm also open to doing some more work in animation. As I said, I had this amazing opportunity with Disney a couple of years back. It was a really, really good opportunity. How it came about was bananas. And I think, I'm open to working with them again. It was a great experience.
I thought your mention of your wish list of collaborations was a bit generic because there were no names mentioned. I mean, was that intentional?
I'm not giving you that. Was very intentional. I'm not giving away any names. That was very intentional. It will be a surprise for people who don't know me, but people that know me and know my tastes in books will know that, yeah, this is, I've been saying these names. If you go on my Twitter, you will see I've been saying the names of the people that I want to work with for a long time. There's one particular guy that if I get this guy, I'll retire happy. I'll retire very, very happy. If he says yes to one of my books, I'll retire happy.
Wow. Is it
one guy?
Oh wow. I wish you could mention his name, because I mean, for some of us, we don't even use X anymore. So who knows? Maybe this might be the medium.
I'll mention this guy's name. I'll mention his name. His name is Mark Butavant is his name. He's a French, I believe French illustrator. His work is a massive influence on my work. It's the work that I looked at so much when I was trying to learn, because I learned from scratch how to illustrate. I'd never made a book before Lookup, so I had to learn from scratch. So all my learning was from other people's work, from looking at people like Mark, and his work is phenomenal. Like, so I'm just thinking of a good story that I think he could help me bring to life, and fingers crossed it will hit. There's also a lady, Emily Hughes, as well. Is it Emily Hughes? Let me check her name, because I don't want to get her name wrong. I think it's Emily Hughes. Emily is a phenomenal illustrator. Like absolutely phenomenal illustrator. I've been a huge fan of hers before I even knew I wanted to be a children's book illustrator. I'm lucky to call her a mutual on socials. And I would love for her to be one of the illustrators that works with me. I'm also thinking about a lady called Marta Altus as well. Marta's a brilliant illustrator. So these are all people whose work I've been a fan of coming into this game. I'm also interested in working with some of my Hey You guys as well. I'm just trying to figure out who's free, whose style works best for what kind of story I want to tell. But the way that I look at it, it goes back to what I said earlier, is I'm trying to have a career. I'm trying to be here for a long time. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity to work with different people as the time comes on. Right now, I'm just trying to feed my indulgence. I'm still like a kid inside. I get excited when I see these people's work, when I hear that, when I see they're coming out with a new book. Emily came out with a new book the other day. I bought it quicker than I've ever bought anything else. This book here, I bought it quicker than I've ever bought anything else. Look at this beautiful work. Look at this. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, she's an author as well. You're probably familiar with her work. She did this book called Too Small Toller, which is, she's a Nigerian. She's a Nigerian author. Too Small Toller. She's also done this Lulu series. There's a series called Lulu, and Hannah Hibiscus.
Okay.
Yeah, she's done that whole series. They've been around for a minute. She works with Walker Books. Those books have been around for a while. They're quite popular. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So Dapo, I mean, because we've talked about this, a few times you've mentioned this, I want to have a career. The business side of things, Dapo, what are your offerings? What are your, do you offer any services, or do you just earn from your products? How does Dapo, what is his career? How does he earn money? What's business like for Dapo?
Business. I'm still learning, still figuring that out. There's so many things that you have to learn when you start working for yourself. You are your own accountant, you're your own everything. You need to be prepared for that. If you say you want to be a freelance illustrator or author, you need to be prepared to do those things. You need to learn about the business side. You need to not look at yourself as only capable of working in a certain way. Like, I see this happen. It's a phenomenon. Like, I meet people who, for example, say that they see themselves, they want to be an artist, but they only want to be one type of artist. And I'm like, why would you do that? The world will already do that to you. It will already pigeonhole you, will already put you inside a hole. Why would you now put yourself inside another hole, right? Like, to me, you're going to be growing. You're going to be doing this thing for decade to decade. You're a different person. Were you the same person you are now in your 30s or in your 20s? No. So why would you do that to yourself as a creative? Why would you stifle yourself? So I say all of this to say, business wise, how I've always looked at things, I've always seen myself as a whole thing. not just one thing. So, for example, I never intentionally wanted to be a children's book illustrator at the time I came into the industry, right? Like I was fashioning myself to become like more of a trendy, fashionable kind of, cool illustrator, street artist, even almost. That's where I was going with it. And then children's book illustration came, and I said, okay, cool, I'll try that. And I tried it, and now look at where I am. But I know people that want to be something. They're so narrow-minded about that thing that they want to be, that they will ignore everything else. To me, you're a storyteller. Your primary objective is to tell stories. You're supposed to be able to work in a fashion that allows you to change your style to suit the story that you're trying to tell. You cannot box yourself. You can if you want to. You can absolutely box yourself if you want to. But then whatever comes with you boxing yourself is what you now have to accept. You understand? We can't change that. That's the law of life. If you put yourself inside box, whatever comes inside that box with you is what you will have to chop and take. But if you open up the way that you look at creativity, if you open up the way that you look at yourself, then the limits are almost, it's limitless. It's limitless, right? So business-wise, things I advise people to do is look at their work in more than just the format that exists in. So one of the first things that I did once we finished Lookup was I started to take spreads and illustrations that I liked from the book, and I made them into prints. And those prints were so popular. And what those prints did was they expanded the experience of the reader. So children will read the book, right? Get one experience. Then they'll buy a print of the artwork and have it in their room. And now that's a different experience that they're having. If I got to, because Lookup has been, we've optioned Lookup. We optioned it in 2019. Optioning means that a production company has bought the rights to make it into a TV or film thing. So with those rights, we sold the merchandising rights as well. So that meant that I can't make any actual merchandise beyond paper, beyond prints. I can't make toys. I can't make anything like that. If I could make that, I would have made it already. And that would have been a whole nother thing, another experience for my readers, but also another revenue stream for myself as well. So it's just thinking about those things, thinking about and only certain stories lend themselves well to that experience. Not every single story is going to give you a character that you can now make toys and prints of, right? So it's about knowing. So for example, if you look, I didn't make toys from Grizzly Bear. I don't think I have any prints. I didn't make any prints from Grizzly Bear, that book. Like, I love the book. I think it's fantastic, but I just didn't think it lent itself well to those kind of things. And it's just having that knowledge of what works as what, and being open to having your work as different things. Like, you can't pigeonhole yourself. You can't, what I would say to people is you can't pigeonhole yourself, but you also shouldn't just be like
everything.
Because it's not just about making money. It's not just about making money. If it was just about making money, I would make prints of every single book, every single character. I would just be bam, bam, print. No, man, it's not just about making money. It's about making something that's good and authentic. If it's just about making money, people will know. People will know.
So this is an example of one of those prints, right? Because this is I got this for £1 on Amazon, right? This is a spin-off. So this is what's known as a World Book Day book, right? So every year World Book Day happens. It's got this thing on the front. It says World Book Day book. If you read on the inside, it will tell you on the inside as well. So it's a World Book Day book every year, and this is another highlight of my career, actually. So every year World Book Day happens, and a select few illustrators and authors are picked to make a special £1 book for World Book Day. And it's £1. Anyone can buy it anywhere, and children can even exchange tokens and get given that book. And it's a short version of a normal book. So that's only a few spreads. It's a small format, a few spreads. But that book you're holding is one of my favorite things that I've ever made. It's so fun. It's a fun book that I got to make with Nathan, but that's definitely an example, but that's more of an example that came from the industry itself. I got paid to make that by someone else. I didn't make it just because I wanted to make it, A better example where are they? Trust them.
A better example are these. So I made these pins When book one came out, I made these little pins that you can buy, which is Rocket's face, and you can just pin it on yourself. I paid for this out of my own pocket. I paid a good few £100 to make them. I sold them on my own website. And this is an example of something. And these always sell out all the time. Boom, they're gone.
Wow.
Like when Hey You came out, I made some sunflower versions as well.
Wow.
Like just a little pin. So there's 2 versions of that one that I made. One that has eyes, So these are all the things that are an example of an extension of like my own business. I'm trying to find.
Wow.
So I also made. I also made the cat from my book as well, from Look Up, as a pin as well. So these were things that I put my own money into them. So I say that to say that there's no guarantee that they were going to sell. There's no guarantee that somebody was going to buy them, but I took that risk, and it paid off. And also what it ends up doing is it gives you another thing, another notch, another thing that you can now. So when I go out and I'm doing signings, I'll have the pins there. If you want to buy a pin, you can buy a pin. Sometimes if I want to gift somebody something, say, hey, thank you for the support. Here's a pin. I'm giving back, you know?
So, I mean, based on my understanding of the book industry, where you work with publishers, there's royalties and stuff. So you're earning income from royalties and upfront money you get paid front. But for something like this, this is 100% coming to you, right? You're not splitting the cost with anyone, right? So
no. For the merchant stuff, this is 100% coming to me. That's another great part of it. I mean, the merch is not the big part. The books is always going to be my main earner. At this stage, it's always going to be the books, but it's always good to have the merchandise available, and that brings in a little change. Sometimes it's a lot of change depending on what's happening. So, for example, during 2020, when everybody was guilty because the black man died, people were buying from my shop. It was crazy, bro. It was absolutely crazy. I know that is a rare thing because of what happened, but that's an example. In that year, I think I made almost 30 grand from the shop in that year. That's the highest I've ever made, and I'm sad that it happened. Selling prints, selling pins, selling stickers. So I'm sad that it happened the way it happened, but that's the most I've ever made from the shop in that one period of time. And then also on the shop as well, I sell signed copies of the books because people aren't always going to be able to get that. So I sell signed dedicated copies. So if you want a dedicated copy of the book, you can buy it from my online shop. My online shop runs all year round. It's not new. I'm changing how I'm going to be using it for Patreon. I'm going to try some experiments and see how it works. But all of these things, they're all experiments. They're just me trying to figure things out, just me trying to figure things out, me trying to understand how it all works. That whole thing I said to you before, I'm still new. I'm still learning. There's still so many things that I have to learn, so many experiments. Like I want to see, I'm talking to Ori about some figures that I have in mind. So when we made the turtles, we made 4 figures. The problem is there were 4 figures. So people, if people want to have the full experience, they would need to buy all 4. To mass produce all 4 would cost me so much money. And then we can't guarantee that people are going to buy them. Whereas now I know that it works. I know that we can make things, right? So the next thing I want to do is I want to make one thing. So people can buy one thing. If you make one thing and people can buy that, that's much better than you trying to make a set of 4. So I'm gonna try some things with Ori coming up in the future. There's an idea that I have that might be really cool.
Okay, interesting. So we're almost at the end, Dapo, and this one feeds into what you've mentioned earlier also about collaborations, And so for some context, your IG clearly reads not taking commissions, right? And so plus I don't I had here that plus I don't see any agents, but then I know that you have an agent. Well, I'm not sure that the agent is mentioned on your IG though. And this is me using IG as my point of reference. So yeah, your IG clearly reads not taking any commissions. And so, but as you can imagine, there are folks out there whose dream would be or is to work with you. Their dream is to work with Dapo. So perhaps, explain the context behind your IG disclaimer, and if there's a chance that someone's dream of working with you can come through, where can they find you? How do they even go about it?
People are going to hate me after this one. my IG disclaimer to explain it. Too many people were coming. Too many people were coming inside my DMs, and that's not the correct way to approach somebody. Too many people were coming with offers that actually aren't going to pay me. Like at the end of the day, look, it takes like 6 months to illustrate a book. During those 6 months, I have to pay my bills. I have to eat, right? People come into me and saying, Dapo, I have this great idea for a book.
It's always a great idea, right?
Yeah, it's always brilliant, isn't it? It's always the best idea I've ever heard in my life. Come and work on this book. When you finish this book, that's when we'll go and sell it, and together we will break the money. So what do I do to eat while I'm working for 6 months on your book? You know? And then also, again, people don't take the time to learn about how much money it actually costs to hire somebody for 6 months to work on a book. Now, I don't say this to sound braggy, but my pay at the moment is in a specific realm of pay. So now my time, because of the pay that I get, now my time is valued at this amount. So I would be stupid, very, very stupid, to take on your job and drop the job that's valued at the amount that my time is now worth. Do you understand? So for me, that's why I had to just put no commissions, because the commissions that are able to afford the time, the amount of money that my time is now valued at, those commissions would come through the proper channels. They'd come through a publisher who would reach out to my agent. You know, if you're coming to me in my DMs by yourself, it's very rare that you're going to be able to afford my time. And that's not to say that your project is not worth my time, but unfortunately, I have bills to pay. I have things that I have to pay for, like in my life. So as much as your project is good, the most I'll do when I see a project that I'm like, oh shit, that's exciting, but I just don't, I'll say to them, Omo, take that to a publisher. I think it's dope. They will snap it up. If your work is good, and that's not to say publishers are the absolute tastemakers, they're not. Sometimes they miss the trick. But if your work is good, you will find a home for that job. That book, somebody will pick it up. Either an agent will pick it up or a publisher will pick it up. If it's doing what it's supposed to do, somebody will pick it up. And when they pick it up, they will now put the money behind it to be able to afford an actual working illustrator. Now, that's not to say that you can't go and find an illustrator yourself. There are plenty of people use Fiverr. I would never recommend it, but people use Fiverr. I would never recommend it. Somebody was using my work on Fiverr to say that they can draw like me. It was crazy. So I would never recommend it, but people take shortcuts all the time. What you pay for is what you get. That's what I would say on that one. What you pay for is what you get. I'm not here to crush anybody's dreams, but I do think that having a knowledge of the industry, having a knowledge of how much illustrators earn, will give you an understanding of how much is needed to make the book. And then my issue as well, why I had to put no commissions, is people still don't listen. People still come in my DMs. They say, I saw you're not doing commissions, but I just thought I would try.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? You saw I'm not doing commissions, but you thought you would try. What has changed? So anyway, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. I guess what I would say to people is, do that's why to do the research, learn about these things, learn that there's a proper way that these things work. And when I say proper, I mean a standardized way, a way that people approach. When you want to get an illustrator, this is how much it costs, this is how much time it takes to make. Because people also think that we make books like that. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Like the shortest amount of time, that book you held up, the little one, it took me a month to make that one. It took me 1 month to make it. That's the shortest amount of time, but that's because it's not the full book. It's a smaller book. So that's why it took a month. On average, it takes 6 months to make a book. Sometimes I'm working on 3 or 4 books at a time. So it takes time. It takes time. And being realistic with that, on your end, before you approach an illustrator, that's,
Yeah, but here's the thing, that so that's for people searching for, say, for example, illustrators, right? But the other way around, or the other alternatives. So, I mean, the likes of Ori, who's a toy maker, some other guy doing some amazing, I don't know, thing somewhere, who thinks, oh, you know what? I can breathe some life into Dapo's works in some ways. I think, you know,
they can reach out to me.
Yeah.
Like if it was the other, like that's how I found Ori, because I saw her doing work on Chris Chatterton's stuff. And I'm like, who made this? You know, Chris tagged her. I DM'd her and I said, hey, I've got this thing I want to see come to life. I've already had somebody make the 3D models. Okay, let me give you an example. When I found Mike to make my 3D models, I just went on social media. I went on Twitter. I went on Instagram. I said, hey guys, I'm looking for somebody to bring these drawings to life in 3D. If you are that person, send me a link to where I can see your work. And then, you know, people were suggesting people were sending me links. Mike was one of them. I DM'd him. I looked at his work. I loved his work. He gave me his rates. I paid him. I even gave him a little cherry on top because I thought he was charging me too small. I paid him and we did it. Like, I went to look for him. I approached him, you know, to find out. Like, I put out a call out. People put his name down. I approached him. I said, and then when I found Mike, he did the 3D models. It was a year later that I reached out to Ori after I saw Ori come up on Chris's page, because I was looking for somebody, but there weren't that many people. But when I saw, like, again, I was paying attention to who was doing what. And that's how I saw Chris post his thing. When I saw Chris post his thing, I looked at who he tagged, went to her page, looked, loved what she was doing, reached out. I said, hey, how much would it cost? Can you do the job? Bish, bash, bosh, done. You know? Nice. So people reach out to me all the time. I'm very open to collaboration in that sense. Like, if people want to make something from Rocket, if it's something I want them to make, because obviously I don't want people taking advantage, because there are some people that want to make something from a popular IP just because it's a popular IP so they can go and sell it and make their money. Ori and I were working together. Mike and I were working together. There's no way that they can take my thing and now go and sell it. It won't happen. You know, they're very professional. They wouldn't do that. So again, use your due diligence. Not every single opportunity is a blessing. So it's just realizing those things.
Yeah, but that would, just to make sure that I get that bit correctly though. So for that Ori or some other person out there, you know, they can reach out. But how though? I mean, if it's not, because IG is the proper channel. No,
IG's the preferred channel. I check my DMs all the time.
But I imagine you get ton, because I mean, IG also has the thing where I think if you're not following that person,
it filters the DMs. Yeah. It filters the DMs, and I tell you what, that's great. So let me be really honest. If you don't hear from me, it's because I wasn't feeling it. Like, it's because I wasn't feeling it. Because to be on IG responding to everybody all day, every day, I'd be there. That would be another job. Yeah, people say get an assistant. I'm not paying somebody to answer emails. It's not happening. Like, so I can do it myself. But if you don't hear from me, it's a definite no. Like, you approached me on IG, you approached me on email. It took a while for me to get at you. And to be honest, I was so busy at the time. What nudged me was when I saw you post the interview with Ori. I was like, oh, that guy's hit me up. So I went to go and find the message and responded. Right. Yeah, but it's not everybody that I'm going to respond to. And you know what? You watched X Factor, right?
Yeah.
Right. In X Factor, everybody thinks they have the X Factor. Everybody thinks they have the X Factor. And it's the same. Everybody in the DMs thinks that their idea is going to be it. They think that they have the X Factor. And I'm not even trying to be like Simon Cowell or anybody, but it makes me kind of sad sometimes when I see it. And I'm like, that's not it. That's not going to work for me. You know, the idea is not an opportunity for me. It is an opportunity for them. Do you understand? They are going to gain from working with me, not the other way around. And before people come at me and say, oh, he thinks no, this is the same for all illustrators. I tell all illustrators this. Watch the thing that's coming inside your DM. If they're trying to sell you an opportunity, you shouldn't buy that one, because they came to you, not the other way around. How can somebody come to you and sell you a dream? You are minding your business. You were minding your business. They came to you to sell you. They didn't ask you about your own dreams that you already have in your head. They came to you to sell you.
Imagine it for you.
Right. And I'm not the person that you do that with. Why? In this whole conversation that we've been having, the one thing that you should notice about me is I am not without ideas of my own. I'm not without projects of my own. I have a million things in my head that I still want to get out. So now when you come with your own to go and insert it, there's no space. There's no space. Do you know how amazing your own will have to be to push one of my own out?
Make space.
and make space for it. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I look at it. And it's not, you know, people, when I talk sometimes, I know it can sound a certain way, but it's not to be, it's not hubris. It's the reality. I have so many ideas. Sometimes I can't sleep. So many ideas. I have to write things down. So there's already a lot going on. So when people come and say, "Oh, I've got this idea," I'm like, me too. I've got this idea. What are we gonna do? Like,
hear me out, Susan. Yeah.
How are we gonna do this? You know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's all good. Yeah. So I just the way to reach out to you, then that's fine. And work-life balance, that what do you do to relax outside of drawing and writing and imagining all this, you know, interesting ideas that you want to bring to life?
You heard me say I can't sleep because I have ideas. Work-life balance, if I'm going to be honest, that's an ongoing thing. I think I have a very different experience to others in terms of how I came into this industry and how busy I've been from the jump. I'm learning it's not normal, and I'm trying to adjust to have more of a work-life balance. Like, my work-life balance at the moment is absolutely non-existent. I've just moved into my own space. Having my own space, I think, will hopefully help me have a better work-life balance. But I'm not mad at it, man, because, you know, I'm not here to glorify burnout. Burnout is a very real thing and we should all avoid it. But I also think that sometimes when you're trying to go from a stage that you're at to a stage you've never been to before, you're going to get burnt out because you're trying to go beyond your limitations. So you're going to get burnt out. The trick is to know when you have it and rest. Get plenty of rest in between whatever it is that you're doing. You know, that's the trick. Work-life balance, it's an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing process. Sometimes it shifts, sometimes it doesn't. I'm very fortunate in a way. I want a family, but I don't have one yet. So I'm lucky in that sense. I don't have a dependent. So I can pour everything into the work that I'm doing in the hopes that when I do have a dependent, because I've laid the foundation and I've done the work, I can take time and just be present as a father or whatever. So that's what my hope is. So work-life balance at the moment, I'm happy to sacrifice elements of my work-life balance in hopes that later on in life, it will be worth it. So when I have a family, when I have those things, then I can sit down and just be like, oh, the money's coming in, we're fine. Yeah. Let's raise the baby, you know?
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, but so, I mean, just mention something. You reading something that because you mentioned the gym, right? That's probably one of your work-life balance at the moment, right? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if we're talking about, I didn't even answer the question fully. In terms of relaxation, I work out. Like, I definitely work out, and it's not even just about relaxation. We sit a lot at the job that we do. We're sitting all the time. You need to make sure for the strength of your back, your hips, because my hips took a beating the first like few years of this job. I'd be sitting down for almost 20 hours. There was a time I got sick. I was working 20-hour days and sleeping for 4 hours. And when I say working, I don't mean I was at the desk working. Of the 20 hours, of the 20 hours I was working, I probably spent about, let's say, about 12 to 16 hours panicking. I'd never illustrated a children's book in my life. I had to learn how to illustrate one. So there was a lot of panicking, a lot of worrying, a lot of stressing about. Also, not only had I never illustrated a children's book, I'd never had my work go out to thousands and thousands and thousands of people before. My work would only go out to maybe 10, 15, 20 people at the most. This was a book. It was going out into the world. This book, look up, has sold over 125,000 copies. And that's a lot of eyes looking at my work. And I kept thinking about that. That stressed me out. And I would be sitting at my desk for hours and hours and hours and hours, not getting up. I went from a job where I was moving around all the time, up on my feet all the time, to a job where I was sitting for very, very long hours. My health started to suffer. My fitness started to decline. So I started to work out again. And working out has always been a form of therapy for me. It's always been, don't get me wrong, actual therapy is good. Don't replace actual therapy with exercise. Get both if you can. So one is no compensation for the other. Get both if you can. So for me, on a day-to-day, working out is stress relief. It's absolute stress relief. Even if it's just going for a walk, a run, skipping, swimming, do something physical. Your body will thank you for it, you know? Also, I love film. I love TV, like in terms of animated content. I chill out by watching that stuff. I go to I used to have the cinema pass that was go and see as many films as you want pass. I used to just go to the Odeon. In fact, right now, I just moved where I moved. There's an Odeon 3 minutes from me. And I'm like, okay, I might go and sign that pass up again and just go on my own. I used to go on my own, watch what I want to watch on the big screen, eat my popcorn, watch film, just relax, escape. Because a real reason why I make the stuff I make is because of storytelling. It's because of film. It's because of video games. It's because of books. So I'm still a fan of all of those things. Another part of relaxation for me, I bought a Nintendo Switch. It's the best console ever. The thing I love about the Switch makes games for nostalgia, games that I used to play when I was a kid.
The Mario's, right?
Mario, Zelda, all the things. They've made all of that stuff. It's all on the Switch. It's all wonderful. And it allows me to escape the way that I used to escape when I was a kid. And because I make content for children as well, it feeds my imagination about what's possible in the game, in a book, in a story, you know? So those are the things that I tend to do for relaxation. I like going to museums. I like now, because I can afford to, and because it's no longer a pandemic, I also like going on holiday as well. So I have a thing where I'm trying to see a bit more of the world. I'm trying to see a bit more of the world. I'm trying to figure out how I can do it time-wise. I try and feed it into my work where I can as well. That's a part of it as well. But yeah.
That's good. My last question is, and I think you've offered this along the line, but I mean, maybe you still have some to share. I mean, tips for artists out there looking to follow in your footsteps. Yeah.
I can't remember what I've already said. I think you shouldn't be following in my footsteps for starters. I think you should, I know what you mean, but I will always push back against this, man. I think you should carve your own path. And I think the only way you can carve your own path is by being somewhat dead. I don't want to give like a airy fairy answer, but I can only tell you what works for me. Put it this way. And don't read too much into this one. I realized something. I used to give myself a hard time because I came into the industry at 35. I used to be like, I should have come in 10 years prior. But the reason why I'm able to navigate the industry the way I navigate the industry is because I came in at 35. If I came in at 25, I would have burnt everything down and just destroyed all my opportunities because I was hot-headed. And I say all that to say that whether you're 25 or 35, a key thing is self-awareness. If you know why you want to be an author, why you want to be a storyteller, why you want to be an illustrator, that will always help you navigate. That will help you when it comes to these footsteps that we're talking about. It will always help you. Understanding why. Even sometimes I forget, I have to remind myself, this is why you're doing this. And because your why does not align with this opportunity, that means you can't take this opportunity. That means you can pass it on to someone else. You know, that's another thing that I do. I pass it on to someone else. You know, that I don't hesitate. I will pass it on to someone else. So understanding yourself, having self-awareness, always working from that place and working towards that place as well, that will help you. Whether it is that you become an author, you become an illustrator, and you decide, I don't want to do this anymore, you want to do something else, just always be true to yourself. That's the tip, the number one tip, the all-enveloping tip that I can give you. Be true to yourself and also be a student for life. And the student for life thing is educating yourself on all aspects of whatever direction you want to go into in the industry. Knowledge, as they say, is power. Like that, they don't say these things just so they can, because they sound cool. It's facts. Like it's absolute facts. Knowledge is power. Like go and learn. Pick up a book about it. I've got books on writing. I've got books on writing for children. Just books that I still have to read to learn. And my thing is, because I wasn't taught formally, I didn't go to school to learn how to do this thing. I'm learning myself. I'm buying the books on writing. I'm listening to them. I'm doing the masterclass on writing online. I'm putting my own money into myself. And you got to be careful with that one as well, because some people can become masterclass junkie and they'll be doing every masterclass and they'll just be continually buying the books and reading the books and never actually doing the work. you need to find you need to be true with yourself. You need to find a balance because But yeah, that's the tip I can give, man.
Wow. Interesting, Dapo. Thank you very much. This has been an interesting conversation.
Thank you for listening to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. You can find all the links in the podcast description. Make sure to follow the Creatives Across Borders podcast and stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, bye.